everybody. We're back today with a good friend of mine, and this guy is one of the cleanest ukulele players out there. You have to hear him play. Mika Kane. What's up, man?
How's it, guys? How's it, Andrew? Thanks for having me.
Dude, yeah, it's been a while. Like whenever he comes to Maui, we always jam. We hang, we talk story. But because of the pandemic, it's been a long time since we actually got the caught
It's been a
up.
while.
But we did. I think I've seen you a lot on Maui ever since when we were in high school. Because I was like, this kid has a custom kamaka. Like, how did that even happen? And I was like, it looks like Jake's one. So yeah, can you?
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. So just so you know what Andrew's talking about, this is my custom kamaka. I got this back in 2012, made by Casey Kamaka, one of the Kamaka brothers. And basically, the story with that is I met Jake back in 2010. And I remember he gave me his contact, gave me his phone number. He's like, hey, anytime you need my help, you need help with learning my songs, or you just want advice, just call me up, man. Or here's my email, just hit me up, don't worry. So, of course, at the time, I think I was like 14 years old. So I'm just like, I'm not going to bother him. Like, no way. My dad's like, don't bother him. So I remember I would reach out to him once a year. And every time he came to the MAC, which is like the number one venue on Maui, I would hit him up like, hey, can I have some tickets? We can hang out. So one year I was just like, Dad, I want to get a custom. He's like, well, ask Jake. He gave you his number. So I kind of just, took my shot. Hey, Jake, you think you can help me get a custom? He's like, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, again, Jake's the nicest guy out there. Like, I don't ever remember him saying no to anyone that I know that he's friends with. Or he's just so nice, so giving. So he's like, yeah, for sure, man. Just let me know when you're at Oahu. So I was up in Oahu my freshman year of high school, first swimming meet. He picked me and my dad up in his car, drove us to Kamaka. Went upstairs. Hey, Casey, this is Mika. He's an awesome ukulele player. He was, thinking he wants a custom. You think you can build one for him? He's like, yeah, hey, anything for you, Jake. No worries. So yeah, he just walked me through the whole process. Like, you pick your wood. What were you thinking? So at the time, I really liked Jake. So I'm like, I want my uke to look like Jake. I want the red, I want the curly coal, the dark. So he's like, yeah, no worries. I can do that for you. So then, after that, we left. Jake dropped me back off. And I was like, dude, you're so amazing. So I've been in touch with Casey ever since. So it took about a year and a half. So I think that was December 2010. And then I received it in April of 2012. He called me out, hey, come to Oahu. It's done. And I've had this beautiful instrument ever since. And it's been my baby. So ironically, I didn't name it. I think a lot of ukulele players name their customs. I never named it yet. It's been almost 10 years. Did you name your ukulele?
No, I honestly don't know. Like, I was thinking the Warrior or something because I was inspired by the triangles from Jiu-Jitsu, right? From the Gracie triangles. I was like, I mean that's an idea I had in 2016, but yeah, I'd rather call it like an alias, like the something, like like the hammer, versus like like someone's name, like. Like one of my friends, I think he named his ukulele like Charlotte or something, and I was like, Charlotte. I don't think I could do that, like.
And then Jake named his Buffy and Buffy too.
Yeah, Buffy. Yeah, I forget. There's some names out there. It's pretty interesting, but yeah.
What made you want to go with the blue? And maybe not, something like the orange coal, because it's completely different than mine.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, man. Actually, when I was in high school. And were you like in 6th grade at the time? Something like that.
I think I'm 3 or 4 years younger than you.
Okay, so yeah.
So I'm not that much younger than
you're in middle school. You're middle school. And then I was a freshman. And like Mika just said, Jake would have this red ukulele called Buffy. And I was just like, that's such a cool ukulele. But I was like, when I grow up, I want an ukulele kind of like that with the slotted head was the big thing. And you have the slotted head. The one...
The smaller one.
Yeah, if you guys notice,
not the classical guitar head.
It's flat on top, and you and Jake have the only flat.
I think so.
Flat-headed slotted head, flat slotted head, and
then I think mine's the black in the back. I'm not sure why Casey did that.
Mine's just regular.
Yeah, I don't know. He put the ebony in the back. But the thing is, I didn't even ask for the flat. I just said I want one that looks like Jake's, but I want a smaller headstock. And he's like, yeah, I got you. So it was just, I don't know what happened.
I think that's the first thing I recognized about your ukulele was the.
How did you get the flat headstock?
Yeah, I mean, because all of us has the point. I mean, it's
yeah,
cool. But
the classical guitar headstock.
Yeah, sorry, going back to what I was saying, but yeah, so I remember like just being, I was a big Jake fan growing up, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, red is such a cool color, but my favorite color was always blue growing up, and I was just like,
Okay.
I wonder if I can kind of create that blue theme on
Yeah.
the when I get a custom one day. And this is like, I was like 15 at the time, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
but one day I feel like I'm gonna get a custom. So like my idea was a lighter koa, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
this. It's gotten darker since I first got it, but and I love this whole blue theme that's going on right there. I didn't. This came last, the on inlay,
Mm-hmm.
but then to get the KK and the blue power abalone was pretty cool. And then on the sides, I don't know if you can see it. It has the did it fade already? Blue,
I don't know. I know the blue line is all around the fretboard and around the headstock.
yeah, it's
Small
on the
little detail.
fretboard, but it's
Yeah.
it's getting older with age and it's a little faded. But yeah, so this is like my dream ukulele, and
Mm-hmm.
I just remember right before I got it, Jake got his new ukulele. It was blue, and I was just like, "Oh man!" And
I
then
remember
they're
you
like,
telling me that story.
I was thinking like, "Oh, everyone's gonna think I took his idea," but it was really up here in 2007 before he
Mm-hmm.
even thought about the moves.
Well, here you are. This is your claim. You're claiming the credit right now.
and then now what Herb has it, and now like all the models have blue. So I'm
I
like, "Oh
know
man!"
the Jake Blues now. I know.
Yeah, but no one has pink or purple, right? No, I think someone does
Yeah,
have a purple actually, but I can't remember.
Raya Taylor has a purple one. Her
Right,
custom
right,
has a
right.
purple. It's light though. It's hard. You have to really look at it. Oh, it's purple. You wouldn't be able to tell like it's red or blue from far away.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like
So,
what for hers.
yeah, but pretty much this is how it is. Like whenever we get together and we jam, and it's just like, oh yeah, we talk about our ukulele specs. You got ebony versus I think it's rosewood, right?
Yeah, mine's rose. And again, I didn't ask for that. I was just like, make it look like his. So yeah, it's interesting because I think Jake's Buffy is ebony, but mine's rosewood. So I don't know. And then it has the coal perflate all around on the back and on the top. So I don't know. Again, I was stoked to get one. I wasn't picky.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So that's like already the fact that you got an Jake already held you in high regards, like getting a new.
Yeah, I can't. That was so cool that he did that. I mean, I just took the shot, and my dad's like, "You don't know if you don't ask," so I just went for it. And man, if I didn't ask, I wouldn't have this. So props to him, and just Jake's nicest human being on earth, and the best person to be, almost like the ukulele ambassador of the world. Like he's just kind of leading the way. So
he is definitely,
yeah.
And so that was years ago. I remember seeing around with that ukulele, and then I think the shops are and I was just like, hey.
That was the first time we formally met each other in person and even played together.
Yeah, what did we play? Body surfing or something?
We played the typical wipeout and body surfing. I think this was in 2016.
The very beginning. I think it was right before the 100th anniversary of NAMM.
I think so too. And it's so cool because I remember seeing you around YouTube. You recorded the Sweet Child of Mine with Educate Takis Hawaii Music Flyer ukulele site. So I've seen your videos pop up here and there. You did the Get Lucky cover. I was like, wow, that's so cool using the looper.
Wow, that's so long time ago.
So I saw all your videos, the Let's Roll, the Resurrection. So I was very familiar with who you were. So when I forget how I got the Shops Wale gig. Maybe it was Cheryl through Mele Ukulele.
From Mele, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're like, hey, come play at Shops Wale. We're doing this thing, the ukulele mixed plate or something, and we have Andrew Bellino. I'm like, hey, I know him. Okay, perfect. So then we met.
And then
gig day,
and after that we kind of we started hanging out. And then I think NAMM happened, and then we just we just sit around, we talk for hours ukulele. We talk about things such as different. I mean, I think that in the beginning not so much, but we started talking about different kinds of woods. And was very fascinating. So let's just touch upon that real quick. But me and you were like old school koa guys, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't know anything about tonas. You hear the name spruce, cedar, koa, mahogany, but what about it? Other than looks, what tonal quality does it bring for your instrument? I didn't know anything back then, so I just went off looks. Everyone was playing curly koa. That was the mainstream wood to use for ukulele, right? And you're like, it's Hawaiian, Hawaiian ukulele, koa ukulele. So and I think it was starting a couple years after that. That's when I think I started getting introduced. Being around Corey and Kale and being on Oahu is just there's other woods out there. So I just really
I mean, and now I got a Joji Yoshida ukulele, which is moon spruce and rosewood, which I starting to really love that combination. And like cedar, I really love. I don't have a cedar ukulele, but that's one that I really want to get. I know it's a softer wood, and it's I know it's not as durable, but it's just the tone of it is pretty good. And I hear like redwood is really good too.
Redwood, you're gonna get kind of like it sounds negative, but like a muddier kind of sound. You're gonna get more of a lower, darker kind of.
Is it kind of like in that cedar spruce category?
It's just different. Like it's like cedar is really warm, but it's like it's not a dark kind of warm like with sinker redwood or redwood. For me personally, I've never cared for the sound. It's not my kind of sound that I like to hear with my style of playing. I do enjoy more of like the cedar because it's really warm and it's a nice warm. I mean, I don't know. That's the hardest part about talking about wood. It's so subjective how to explain it, what I'm hearing versus what you're hearing. But yeah, redwood is more if you want that unique look, especially like sinker redwood, it has all kinds of green, red, all kinds of cool colors of the wood compared to cedar. It's kind of plain. It's kind of not the prettiest looking wood,
right.
For a top.
Sounds pretty killer, especially Calay's. I think it's 100th anniversary model.
Yes, cedar and koa on the sides.
That was such a killer combination. And the reason I bring this up is because I know that you're around all the fancy ukuleles.
I did. I think just doing a lot of sound samples with Sean Yakovon at Ukulele Friend, and then doing a lot of sound samples too now with Andrew Katakis at Ukulele Site. You know, the more ukuleles you play, and then with guys like with Sean telling you like, oh, this is spruce or this is this kind of redwood, this kind of rosewood, it has this sound quality, and then just trying to make the connection when you're playing it, and then having Andrew Kitakis telling you like, oh, this is this type of wood, this is the kind of sound you're gonna get, and then trying to find your own connections. It's really opened up my head to like, wow, like you can really kind of like build your own ukulele and kind of craft your sound to your playing style.
Definitely. And so since you've been around so many different woods, what has been a combination that kind of sticks out to you?
So my absolute favorite right now in my point of life, because I'm sure it changes. Like it's kind of like you like this candy, and a few years later you'll get tired of eating it. You'll move to a next candy. But like, right now I'm a spruce top, or more specifically like a moon spruce or German European spruce, and then I like Indian rosewood. It's not the fancy Brazilian rosewood or Amazon rosewood. It's just it's very known in the guitar world, and slowly it's kind of creeping up in the ukulele world. But Indian rosewood, it's really warm, really rich. It's not as dense as Brazilian, so you're not gonna get a really dark kind of rich tone. You're gonna get more of a warmer, pleasant, rich tone with the Indian rosewood. So right now I'm getting a custom koala ukulele by Noah Bonk being built right now, and that's the exact combination. It's German spruce, and I told him to get moon spruce, but I'm not sure if he did it. But I know it's German spruce top and then Indian rosewood's back and sides. It's gonna have curly coil binding on top and back, and then it's gonna have a green theme for perfectly because green's my favorite color, and no one has green.
That's true. That's
so I want to be that guy who's green. So it's gonna be a sick looking ukulele. I cannot wait till I get it. Hopefully a few months from now, or sooner than later.
Oh man!
So that's my favorite combination. Spruce and rosewood.
Nice. Slotted head or
slotted headstock? Yeah, ebony headstock.
Nice. Elegant. Oh man, I can't wait to
real classy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Oh man, that's exciting. And
what if I can ask a question? What can you bring out your Joji and kind of give us?
Yeah. Hold on, stay small inside. Yeah. So the Joji. One second. Yeah, so this guy.
And then with your Joji, what made you pick? Okay, first of all, what made you go with a Joji ukulele? Because I played a few Jojis and they're fantastic. They're amazing, warm, awesome instruments. And what made you go with the wood choice that you picked?
Well, let's see now. Well, I went to the Ukulele Guild. They were doing this Luthiers for Cause event, and it's pretty much they had. I can't remember the wood combination, but I think it was like about 7 or 8 luthiers. They made ukuleles from the same type of wood, kind of like how like 8 chefs would make the same dish, right?
Yeah.
It would come out just in their own style. So I remember playing them, and one after me and Clay were trying them out, And then I just remember like Joji's just stood out. Like again, to me, it spoke to me. It was very light, and it projected so well. And I was just like, wow. And I even told him, I was like, wow, I was impressed,
Yeah.
So I remember, I think it was the mid of 2018. I was very fascinated with this combination of like a spruce. I wanted something different from Sitka. So I was thinking, oh, and then everyone talks about, moon spruce, Swiss moon spruce. So I was like, oh, I got to try that. And then, of course, got some Brazilian.
Oh, it's a side part. Brazilian. So did everyone did all the 7 makers use spruce Brazilian as their recipe?
No. It wasn't spruce. It wasn't spruce rosewood. It was like, was it cedar? I should know this. Maybe it was redwood or something, but it wasn't rosewood or spruce.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just, but I could kind of hear his style of building when I played his ukulele. I was like, damn. I was like, that's crazy. I was like, I have to order from an ukulele from him one day. And so we got moon spruce here. We got the Brazilian rosewood. We got a blue stained maple, which because kind of going back to the other ukulele, like I want to get something that no one else has. So that's
So Joji is known for his curly maple on the neck. The back of the neck and on the back, how you have it stained blue. Beautiful neck when you use the curly maple. It's really really unique.
So on the head got the logo on there, and I think it's blue power abalone with a more stained maple for the rosette. But this ukulele is just like.
I think I played it once, but right when you got it, so I didn't open up yet. But even then, I was so impressed with the sound. I was like, dude, this thing is so warm. It's so easy to play. The setup is really nice. Wow.
Yeah, and then the side part is optional. It's pretty cool too. It's just like a little.
Is that cool?
A custom cap he made. I think. Yeah. It's either core or snakewood, but.
Yeah.
What's
your opinion on side ports?
I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Like, it makes it sound a little bit louder, but only the recording process, right? So that's why I requested a cap or something. So when I get to the studio, boom. But I noticed the tone changes when you have this cap in. And when I first got it, I was just side port open, and it's like, wow, this thing is loud, but that's right there. So, and then so recently I've been kind of just keeping the cap in and just playing it there, because even my dad's like, oh, it just sounds different both, but he goes, both are good. But certain situations, you might want the cap in. But yeah, man.
It sounds a little airier, right, when you take it off. But then that might be too much in the studio, because then it's gonna be bouncing everywhere.
With the sensitive mics and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's aged pretty well, and like I got some like scratches on it, and I think I got one right there. Like I forget what I was doing, but you see that? You see that thing right there? Oh man, I was hard.
Oh man.
But I think
French polish. That's why
French polish. It's very thin, and I hope I can buff it out, because my heart sank when that happened. But the Joji is good, man. It's kind of like a similar combination to the one you're gonna get, and we gotta play them together. It's gonna be awesome, and that's gonna be.
I can't wait to. I think it's gonna be low G. I made it with the intention of making it a low G because I have my custom Kamaka as my high G, but who knows, I might switch because I might want to hear my Kamaka as a low G and then maybe play the Kola as a high G, but we'll see. I can make that decision when I get it, but man, I can't even tell you how excited I am to get that. Like I really like all the sound samples. I've always gravitated towards spruce, rosewood, like to me, and I remember having a lot of people on ukulele site when I did emails and phone calls, and they're like, "What's your favorite combination? What's the best combination?" Spruce rosewood. But then I'm like, well, it's kind of expensive because only customs really kind of go down that route. But you get the clarity, the articulation, the punchiness of the spruce, and it balances so well with the richness, the warmth, nice overtones of the rosewood. So to me, that's my number one combination. I wouldn't mind having a cedar in the future, cedar ebony, or I don't know.
Ooh, that sounds pretty good too.
Yeah, I think that's another killer combination. So
I'm trying to build my collection to have like all the woods. Yeah, like I got maple, I got the spruce, rosewood, but like cedar's pretty much like one of the only woods that I'm missing. So
I just wish cedar looked nicer. I love the sound of cedar, but it's not the. Sorry, all woods matter, but like but I don't know. I just never cared for and cedar gets really dark too over time. Like it's nice when it's lighter, but then man, it gets really dark, and then Yeah, you're right. It's not flashy and
It's not
stuff like
durable
that.
too. That's the thing.
It's
Like
really
Calais one
soft,
was caving in. Even
Yeah.
one of my friends from like the Tacoma, Washington area, his one was like sinking in too. And I was like,
Oh man.
damn. But
I can't imagine. It must be a nightmare trying to travel all over, like especially if you go to Europe, you go to Japan, and that thing is taking a beating from the temperature changes, the climate change. Cedar is just going to take a beating. So that's what makes me scared too about getting accustomed with a cedar top. It makes me nervous.
Yeah,
the spruce can take a beating at least. So
yeah, spruce is very
spruce
durable.
and rosewood can take very durable, and it's kind of denser, so it's good.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that ukulele. But since we talked briefly about it, low G versus high G, and I've been a high G player for like half my life, but recently touched low G. What about you? Like, did you recently just start playing low G too?
Yeah, so I've been a high G player since I started. I remember when I started doing ukulele demos with Sean Yakubona, ukulele friend, he would always purposely string his ukuleles with low Gs. And like, Sean, I'm a high G player. Why would you do this to me? It's like, I think it sounds better. I'm like, yeah, it sounds better, but I'm a high G player. I don't know what to do with the low G, So he's like, nah, you got it. Just keep playing. So I'm actually grateful that he kept doing that and didn't listen to me, because it forced me to get out of my comfort zone and learn how to kind of utilize the low G, because you cannot, to me, it's a different instrument. It's a whole nother dimension when you're thinking about playing a low G ukulele versus playing a high G. I mean, you're going to have different voicings. Like one voicing on the low G is like you're going to have an F like this. But then if you want to do like a Hawaiian Vap and G7, C7 on low G, you want to go like this. And then like C7 like that on the top string and like that. So you're walking, the bass line's walking down. So there's little nuances like that to where you have to kind of know what you're doing, know what you're playing. That way, because if you're playing low G and you're going like this, probably you're not familiar with the low G ukulele, So I remember I would always just force my way through, but then because of constantly playing Sean's ukuleles with low G, and then I've always watched her play, watch Brian Tolentino play, and they all play low G, and I was just like, oh, those are some really cool licks that I can play. So I started throwing those in, and then I started working at ukulele site, and Corey more or less will play a low G over a high G, and he do all his runs, all his voicings, his chord voicings with low G. And I was just like, I gotta start teaching myself or start dabbling with low G, because it's just so different. Like I can do different kinds of arrangements using that low G rather than the C being the lowest note on a high G. So pretty much the past year and a half, I've been trying to learn more low G to play it properly rather than just brute forcing it.
Right. And
that's
a good point. And the thing is, like,
yeah,
like people think they can play in high G just like a low G. And just like I was saying,
that was me.
Yeah,
5 years ago.
It's kind of like like holding like a G, right? Everyone holds G like this.
Yeah.
And sometimes we lazily go to the A, but then on the low G, that's gonna clash. So you need to.
It's gonna be really bad. Proper. Yeah. So then you have to hold it like this.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of things we take for granted as high G players. Like I'm just gonna play my C like this. But then if you do it on a low G, you're gonna have that G, that low G, just muddying out all the other notes. So
and it's also helped my ear, like in a way, because before, like I used to just slide to the A. I'm like, oh, it sounds good, but now it's just like that G. I can hear. I was like, oh no, I gotta hold the right chord, Oh,
so even if it's an octave higher, you hear it in your head.
Well, after playing the low G, I'm like, yeah,
it's
like
there.
certain songs. I'm like, I know it's wrong because I can hear it, because just playing the low G, you can't get away with it. And I don't know, low G just has they have their own pros and cons. But I've been playing a lot of low G recently, and it just I feel like there's a lot more range when it comes to like arranging or even composing, where the melody doesn't always have to lie on the A string. It can go from the E string and even sometimes the C string. So in a way, it's a little more difficult. Versus like just open C, C6 tuning.
And then you're gonna have different voicings too, because usually on a high G, you would, if you do an arpeggio, it would be like, but on low G, you just go. Yeah. So the order of notes changes too. So if you want to do certain voicing, da 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 rather than. So it just really depends. Like that's why I was saying earlier. Like it changes how you would arrange a song, like in chord melody, or just even if you're playing it like a finger style, it's completely gonna change everything. So. And before I used to just brute force my way through the arrangement. It didn't sound good. So now I'm more aware of, okay, the low G, I'll just not play it. unless I want to play that note. So
yeah, it's funny because that's actually when I wrote Hualalai, that was actually on a logi at the time. But when it comes to like those jazz chords or even just jazz on ukulele in general, do you prefer high or low?
I don't know. I mean, it's weird because like we're not weird, but like I hear Brian Tolentino play all his jazz chords, in his when he plays with Halehaku, Seabury, or when he plays with Nui, and it sounds so good, those jazz voicings, and it's kind of like the same chord shapes as when guitar players play jazz guitar, like jazz Hawaiian guitar. It's the same voicing, same chords. So like, oh, that sounds familiar. But then when you watch someone like Byron Yasui or Benny Chong play, you're just like,
that's right, they're re-entrant, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So then when you have Benny would always talk about saying like, oh yeah, so like when I make my chords, when I go a down strum, the belly's on the bottom, but then when I do the up strum, that's the melody. So when he's going like that, like da 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 da, I'm like,
oh dang, that's right.
How are you even thinking about that? Like, and he's going da 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 da. Like, what are you doing? Oh, so if you have a low G, then you wouldn't be able to do that kind of stuff. You'd all have to go down strums. Versus Benny is aware like da 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 da. So
that's a convenient part of a high G is that you can get those
you can get campanella voicings, or you can play the melody on the top. Yeah. So yeah, it all depends on your style of how you're gonna play ukulele. So, for example, one person that comes to mind is Neil Chin, or me and Andrew's really good friend from Washington, and he's a low G player, and his playing style is really cool because like he likes to use the top. Well, first of all, his voicings, he knows he can play jazz, so he has a lot of jazz chords, but then he also like he'll like use the top string or the low G string to like have the walking bass lines while he's playing the melody. So like that's a good example if you want to do stuff like that. You can even do finger style, but to me I like the high G. So like I'm just so accustomed to hearing that the high G. So like when I do finger stuff for low G, I have to be very aware of what I'm doing. I don't want to just be plucking that G string like as a ghost string,
Yeah, no, that's good. And you have like I love how you incorporate your campanella. Like I remember when you showed me some stuff about like how it's not like what the chord is, not like it's not what you're playing, it's how you play the orchestration of how I'm hitting harder with the E and the A string. And just like and you were just describing the emphasis, and I never really thought of it that way.
Like, so basically, I learned this concept from Byron Yasui and Benny Chong. So basically, they call it orchestrating or orchestration for the ukulele. So basically, how do you take 4 strings and give off the illusion like there's more than one instrument going on? Or how can you make it seem like there's a whole band playing on one instrument or 4 strings? So Benny broke it down to me. It's like, imagine the A string is like the singer. Everyone's going to want to pay attention to the singer. And think of the other 3 strings as like the guitar player, the piano player, and all this kind of stuff. So now knowing that, you want to have that manipulation of like, if you're doing finger style, try to bring the A string out louder and then the other string softer, because these other strings shouldn't be overpowering the singer. The guitar player shouldn't overpower the singer, and so on. So if you do something like, how do you know what the melody is if you've never heard the song before? But if you go like this, something like that. I don't know if that was a good example. But,
and no, that's killer, dude. Like that's accurate instead of like, and that's a lot of use of dynamics and and just like no one's ever said that before to me, like the orchestration. So like, and by the way, Benny Chong and Dr. Byron Yasui are like the grandmasters of the ukulele.
Yes.
Like red belt, if people don't know who they are.
Triple red belt.
Triple red belt. And it's crazy. And it's just crazy that you had the opportunity to become Dr. Byron Yasui's pretty much protege. And I would just like, can you expand on that journey? Because you studied with him for what, like 2 years, was it?
Yeah, so professionally under the state's guidance for 2 years. But I've been working with him one-on-one pretty much since 2015. So 6 years now, coming up on 6 years, and we're still working together. Not as often because I'm doing my own things now, and he wants to be retired, play golf, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I've been working with him for 6 years. So I guess I'll try to tell a shorter story because there's 6 years worth of stuff with him. But basically, I met him at UH Manoa when I was an undergraduate. This is my sophomore year, my second year in school. He came out of retirement. He was a UH Manoa or University of Hawaii Manoa professor for 38 years from 1972, retired in 2010. He was a graduate chair, so he pretty much ran the music department. He was the theory and composition, like one of the head teachers. So again, 38 years, retired 2010. And then he got offered from the music department to teach ukulele. And they're like, hey, Dr. Yasui, do you want to come out of retirement, teach just 100 level ukulele class? Like, yeah, sure. Why not? I want something to do. I took that class. I saw him. I took it. And I've heard of him. I saw him play once with Benny Chong. I'm like, that's like so refreshing hearing jazz on ukulele. Of course, I heard of Benny, but Benny wasn't teaching a class. Byron was. So I went ahead and like, okay, I got to go nag this guy. I got to go nag this guy how to play jazz ukulele. So the class was once a week, every Wednesday. Every Wednesday I went to go see him. And I always like stopped them after class, like, hey, let me play a song for you. So, at the time I was only still playing like Jake's songs. So I was like, hey, what song would resonate with him? Oh, let's play Misty, He's going to know that, he's going to know stuff like that. And then I remember every time I played for him, he was just like, okay, good job. Like super nonchalant. I'm just like, man, I'm playing my best stuff. Like I'm running out of repertoire. I'm running out of ammo to play for him. So eventually he's like, hey, do you know how to read music? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a music major. I took band in middle school. I played ukulele in high school. He's like, oh, so if I give you one of my pieces, can you go ahead and learn it and play it for me? I'm like, yeah, sure. I wasn't going to say no because I was trying to get his attention this whole time. So he gave me a sheet music. And it was This Nearly Was Mine by Rodgers and Hammerstein. It's from the movie The South Pacific from the 40s, I think. So it was written on sheet music. I'm like, I've never done this before. How do you do this? So I just did my best. I had to write out all the notes and figure out the timing, read the rhythm and stuff like that. So it took me a few weeks. I came back and I think it was the last day of class for the fall semester of 2015. Dr. Yasui, I got it. He's like, oh, okay, good. Play it for everyone right now. Wait, what? I just want to play it for you. Don't put me on the spot. He's like, no, play it for everyone. I want everyone to hear. I'm just like, what are you doing? So I went ahead and did it. It went pretty well. I don't think I made any mistakes, but I was super nervous because I'd never performed a piece that was just sheet music. I never really heard what it sounded like before. So I was just trusting I read it because it's not like you can put Byron Yasui, This Nearly Was Mine. Like there's no recordings of it at the time. So I was like, okay, all the information I got from the music sheet, I just have to trust myself. So I played it and then I looked at him, everyone was clapping and he was just like, it's like, okay, I think I did good. So, he dismissed class and then he's like, hey, I want to talk to you. So he's like, congratulations. You're the first student to ever play that song ever. I'm just like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. He's like, yeah, how long? I think he was talking to me about it and stuff. And, so I asked him, like, he taught the same class next semester. So I would just sit in the class because I got the credit already. I was like, hey, Dr. Yasui, can I meet up with you once a week, like every day after, or every time you have class here, we can go in one of the practice rooms and I can ask you questions or work one-on-one. He's like, yeah, sure. But don't, maybe in an hour. Cause I want to go home. I'm tired. So I'm like, oh yeah, of course. No problem. So that's when I started informally working with him once a week for an hour. And then I pushed it to 2 hours and sometimes it's 3 hours. And then it got to the point where we became pretty close with each other. And he's like, hey, let me take you to dinner. Let's go to dinner and continue our talk. So we built a really nice relationship. So we did that for about 2 years. And then at the time, Benny Chong and Ian O'Sullivan and Jeff Peterson, amazing monster musicians from Hawaii. And they got this grant from the state, the Hawaii State Foundation on the Culture and the Arts Grant Apprenticeship. So basically, it's an $8,000 grant funded by the state. Ian O'Sullivan and Jeff Peterson got funded through the state to study with Benny Chong how to play jazz ukulele. So then Benny's like, hey, Byron, you should go do that with Mika. So Byron's like, oh, do you want to do it, Mika? I'm like, yeah, of course I want to do it. So we applied for it and we got it. So from 2017, I think to 2019, that fiscal years. So they paid him $8,000 and we just worked 160 hours total. That was the requirement for the grant. So one-on-one lessons, and we had to document everything. He had to make worksheets. I had to do 2 public presentations. So it was legit. And then the people who funded that grant came and like made sure like okay, what did Mika learn from, Byron and stuff? So it went really well. The first one was on Maui at I think it was the Okinawan Center in Wailuku or in Waiahu. So that was my first presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I came home for the summer and then I did that first presentation in the summer of 2018. And then my second presentation was my classical ukulele recital in November of 2018. So then when I told the people who gave me the grant, like this ukulele recital was really thanks to the grant because we got to work so much one-on-one, and I prepared 10 pieces during that time because of the grant. And then now I'm graduating using this recital. So like, oh yeah, great stuff. So they were super pleased with that recital too. And pretty much after that, we kind of finished up the rest of our hours working one-on-one. And then afterwards, he's like, don't think it's over. I'd still want to we're good friends. I still would love to work with you. You can hit me up anytime, go lunch anytime. So that's the current relationship we have today. I still bother him. I like to say bother him, but I email him all the time. Hey, I have this question about this voicing, this chord progression, this theory, or hey, let me just take you to lunch. I'll treat you to lunch and just talk story, like hear his life story, his musical journey. So, I really look up to him, and he's been the biggest influence, besides Jake and Calais and all the other guys. He's been my number one mentor, inspiration. Led the way for me. So that's my short story.
Dude, that's incredible, man. Just to be
I owe everything to him. I mean, because he's always been there for the past 6 years. Anytime I had a question, he's the first person to email. He's always looked out for me, taken care of me. He's the reason why I graduated UH with my bachelor's with the ukulele emphasis. He's the sole reason. Without him, I wouldn't have graduated because the UH or UH Manoa would have not allowed me to use the ukulele. It was because Byron was like, I believe in Mika. What Mika's doing is legit. You should trust me. We have a stake. Like he was kind of like pitching it for me. And they're like, okay, Byron, because you're who you are. You've been with the department for 38 years. You've done wonderful work for us. We're going to take your word and we're going to let Mika do the recital. So tell him, be prepared, be ready. Because if he doesn't do a good job, we're not going to graduate him or we're not going to let him graduate. So I owe everything to him. Man. And then he's the one who convinced me, Mika, you should become a teacher. And here I am. I just, recently graduated my master's in education. It's all thanks to him. He motivated me. He convinced me, get your teaching, get your master's, get your credentials, get your teaching stuff, go ahead, and teach, give back and all this kind of stuff. You're going to be a great teacher. And I think you have a lot to give. So I was just like, okay. So it's my way of respecting his wishes. It's my way of just giving back for all the good things that he's given me. Now it's my time to share all the stuff that he's given to me. So again, I owe everything to him. He's one of my favorite people out there in this world.
Oh man, that's just an incredible story. I just remember like, wow, like you're so lucky to have one of the grandmasters. I'm pretty much both of them because you always see both of them, and it's just
I can't keep up with Benny though. That's a whole other story.
But you playing like Benny's kind of songs though. It's like you don't see anyone like his Yesterday or some of the other stuff.
I can play one of his songs. That's his easiest song to play. Probably can't play any of his arrangements, but yeah. So Byron's that kind of person to me. He's real special to me, and I owe everything to him. So. Yeah, I'm glad he's still around. I can still take him to lunch and give back to him and drive him around. If he needs stuff, like needs groceries or whatever, I go drive him around.
That's awesome, man. And I remember you telling me that you had that recital coming up. And I remember like there were times you were stressed. You're like, man, like I'll be sweating bullets trying to play this. And he'd be like, oh, that's a wrong chord.
That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That was the most difficult thing to prep for.
What is that?
Just because the recital, the classical ukulele recital, because it's never been done before. The music department was pretty much denying me up until my music advisor, and then Byron was like vouching for me, and then getting the grant through the state really helped too. To like, okay, Mika's serious. He's working with Byron, so even more serious. So just everything kind of had to fall in line for me to push that a classical ukulele recital. And then just knowing like if I don't graduate, I have to set the bar because if I fail, no other ukulele, they're never going to give another ukulele player a chance because they gave me that one chance and I blew it, so everything was on me. So now because I did it, now if someone else wants to come like, oh, I want to do a ukulele recital, they'll be like, well, Mika did it, so we'll give you a chance too now. So hopefully I open the doors so that someone else can do it if they want to, rather than everything lining up perfectly, and me having to do this, line this up to make my pitch to the music department. So extremely grateful for how things turned out.
Recital, and to those out there, it's not like a performance at a venue. This is like professional. I know you said you had to dress like with a suit. You had to
suit, stand. Tie. Yep. And no talking. I just walked on stage, bow. I don't say anything, and I just sit. I'll play the song. I'll stand up, bow. Okay, next song. Stand up, bow, and do that 10 times, and then no break. And these are 7 of the pieces were Byron's pieces, which just playing one is nuts. It's crazy. And then one of them was Benny Chong's Yesterday, and then the other 2 is John King's classical stuff. It was nuts. Like I can only play like 2 or 3 of the recital pieces now. I forgot how to play the other 7. I gotta reteach myself it. But
which one was the hardest one you think was to prep for?
Probably one of Byron's pieces. It was his Japanese medley. It was a medley of like 4 or 5 Japanese songs, and they all kind of, connected to each other, but it was all chords. Like the beginning was kind of like campanella and all these like classical stuff, but then it got really nuts towards the middle, and it turned into all chords and all these moving voices. The middle fingers are moving so much, and I don't even know how to play it anymore.
Yeah, I remember you playing some of those pieces. And I'm like, damn, man, like, and that's something about you that I always respected is your work ethic and your discipline. Like for me, I don't think I could ever do that.
I don't think I could ever do that again. Like that was a once in a lifetime thing, and I'm just glad I did it and it's done. Hopefully, I can play those pieces again, but not 10 in a row. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, because you did play that. You did play that. Was it a Bach? Was it the Bach cello suite?
Number 1. Yes, and also that was one of the recital pieces. Yeah, and then because there's 2, I played the which is a well-tempered clavier, and then the other one is so I played both of those. And I started and ended with it. I think I started with a Bach piece and ended with a Bach piece. So way to wrap it up.
Did you get on a video?
I did record it. Yes, I have a recording. I never like really gave it to anyone though. It was just more for like my safekeeping and my proof that I did it.
Man, I might want to see that next time. That sounds like
I might have to. We can watch it together because I haven't watched it since I played. Okay. Next time I see you, I'll show it to you. But
right on, man.
It was nuts. I mean, what was one of the hardest things you've ever done? You think in your whole because you've gone to Europe. I mean, you gone to New Zealand. You've gone all over the place. So what was one of your hardest performances? And then what was one of your favorite performances?
Bruh, honestly, like what I do is easy compared to what you had to do.
No.
Oh man, that's a good question. I think one of the toughest. Let me see.
Like maybe it was just to prepare for because you and your dad had to work at it.
It was the first time I had to teach a workshop because when you're here in Hawaii, right, the style is. Hey, bro, just hold this chord over here, like
or just copy me.
Yeah,
copy exactly. Me. Yeah. Old school.
So we have that old school kind of Kapila style of learning here, and I didn't know any theory back in like 2015. I went strictly by ear, so I could preparing for my first. It was the first couple years that were the hardest of teaching, and I just I had a couple students here and there, but it was not my focus is performing. So before going up to California, Craig Cheese he goes, "Oh, okay, what are you gonna teach for your workshop?" And then I was like, "Dude, what is a workshop? Like, is that a lesson?" And he goes, "Oh, it's you're gonna teach like 13 people." And then I'm like, "Oh, like dang," because I'm so used to focusing on one student, and the fact that everyone's a different level.
Yep. Yeah.
So like I just remember like a couple workshops, like I'll be in the middle of teaching and I'll be like, I just pause and I forget what I'm doing. I'm like, oh no, I start panicking. So it wasn't definitely not the performance part. It was the workshop part because workshop, they kind of combo it with workshop, then a concert after the intermission or whatever. So maybe like 2015 and 16. Once I think it was around when I released the New Journey, but oh man, I just remember I remember dreading having to teach before I performed because one, I wasn't confident in what I was doing. I didn't know how to deliver it, because I was back to that old school. Okay, you're just gonna hold this, this is I didn't know what it was for sure. But then that's when you helped me a lot with my theory. I think it was 2016. So yeah, I thank you a lot for that. Yeah, Mika's the guy who really was he sat down with me. Because like, we're gonna go over our minor sevenths and our sixth chords, and then after that, I was able to jam and play along. So yeah,
that's right. I did work with you a little bit.
Yeah, but before you, dude, like I was pretty much just like, oh, that chord from Blue Rose is falling. It's just like
super basic. I mean, that's exactly how I was before I went to college. I was just like trusted my ear. I've watched. I played so much, so I just like I knew it worked. But why did it work? I don't know.
But we didn't know. And then that's kind of cool. Like, I think that's why me and you have like we kind of developed their ear in a ways, because back in the day, we weren't relying. I mean, you would see a video here and there and see like a chord, but we weren't relying on tabs or anything. Like we're forced to use our ear because that's just like, the technology back then. They don't really have tutorials on like all these Jake songs back then. But yeah, I think that really attributes to our ear to this day, and I've never trade that, because I'm very glad, even my dad.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that me and you went through that. A lot of other ukulele players went through that journey of just spending thousands and thousands of hours. Either I'm lucky because I'm at the tail end of YouTube. Kind of started maybe a year or two after I got into it, but like people like you had to listen to CDs, you had to download songs on LimeWire, like
LimeWire.
We didn't, use Spotify and all that kind of stuff yet, or iTunes, but we spent thousands of hours playing back on the iPod Nano. I had an iPod Nano that I would reset all the time to try to learn every Troy Fernandez solo, every Peter Moon solo, all the, every Pure Heart solo from Jake back then. And I just spent thousands of hours. And I think a lot of people don't understand, like they see you on stage killing it with your dad. They see me at the ukulele site, and maybe we make things look easy, but man, how many thousands of hours did we practice in our rooms? How much of our social lives did we have to give up in high school so that we could practice? Because that was me. I didn't have a social life in high school. I was practicing every weekend. Every time I came home, I would just pick up the ukulele. And I didn't even think of it as practicing. I just loved playing so much. I wanted to play every Jake song. I wanted to play every Cradle Boy solo and stuff like that. And it all helped us to get to where we're at now, to where we developed our ear so much that when I started teaching you theory, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I know that. Oh, that's what it's called. Like everything just clicked. It came easier because we went through all those trials and we went through all those trials of just, spending thousands of hours with just the instrument and our ears, and just trusting that what we're hearing is correct. And we played it so many times. So now when we put words to music or theory to music, oh, that makes sense. Oh, light bulb. Like everything just came so natural.
Yeah, I think that's how I was able to connect it fast, because of the
experience.
And I think we
had to build our experience up.
Right. And I think the ear is probably the most dangerous weapon someone can develop when it comes to music, because the ear is everything. That's where you can hear. That's where you can hear voicings before you even pick up your ukulele. I want the G in that position. I want that voicing of the minor seven. Like you can just hear it already. So yeah, developing your ear is important. Sorry, we got off topic, but you asked me a question.
No, it's good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, it's good that we talk about these kind of things.
For sure, man. And to answer your question, yeah, so probably like the beginning of my tour, like teaching workshops were probably like, man, like, yeah, I would be sweating. I'll be so nervous. And then, I'm just like, okay, we're going to go over. And then sometimes like I wasn't 100% sure what I was teaching. Yeah. And I was just being in that setting because I was and then the students that I had back home, it was just like, okay, you're going to put your finger here. You're going to.
Yeah, we're all laid back.
Laid back.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So adjusting to that was hard. But as for my favorite performance, that is a tough one. I had a really nice time at the Grand Northern Ukulele Festival
in Europe,
and it was just the energy was insane. There was so much of a community vibe to that festival, and it just like it's one of the best experiences of my life. And when we just played on stage, everyone just like, the crowd just erupted, like in like just energy, and everyone just had such a nice time. And just, I don't know, just the vibe over there was pretty killer. I mean, I have a lot of experiences that I had a good time, but that one sticks out in a way for some reason.
That venue looked really nice. I remember you posted some videos of you and your dad playing at that, what you're talking about. It kind of reminds me of the Mac House, just a big black stage.
Yeah. It's
your monitor just hitting you.
Yeah, like a smaller Mac. I mean, and I think even Jake played the next year, so we just attended as guests, but same community vibe. Just everyone's just so nice over there too. It's just like, I mean, everyone in the ukulele community is pretty much, everyone's pretty cool. But just I don't know. It's just like, oh well, we have like our UK brothers and sisters now. It's just cool to see the ukulele in different parts of the world and seeing what they're used for. Because in the UK, they're used for comedy too, which I thought was very fascinating. And it's just used for different genres. So I was like, oh, that's pretty. That's
different. They use ukulele as different mediums to just tell their jokes or get their music across. Or that's interesting.
It is interesting because here we just see it played like one way, like a couple ways, and I would say those are my nothing like a recital, but the workshop was pretty like now I like ever since I think 2018 I kind of enjoy it because one, like I kind of know what I like to teach now. I'm not really a song teacher. I don't like teaching songs because like how you said, there's some things that we do that are complicated, and me describing that, I'm like, oh, how do you break that down? If it's like a complicated picking, and they're like, oh, what fingers are you using? I'm just like, middle. Like I would just like, it's too like for us, it just comes like second nature. Like we don't have to think about it, but like trying to describe it to someone who doesn't understand, it can be like it can go right over the head. I'm just like, and for us, it's like, oh, that we thought it was easy, but it's actually not.
Yeah, that's why I like teaching concepts or techniques that they can figure out, rather than me saying like, hey, we're gonna do Isn't She Lovely, we're gonna learn the song, and then okay, that's it, and they learn the song, but then what about that, what about afterwards? So instead I'll be like, okay, this is, I don't know, right hand technique, left hand technique, and then here's a song you can play using that. Keep that in mind, but now I'll take that concept and apply it to every song you know how to play. That way, it's just like they get you don't get a song out of it. They get all the songs they play. They
get that tools to do a song.
Yeah, I'm giving them tools to fill their tool shed. That way, if you want to do this song, I'll take that one, and then they can figure out. Because in a way, I'm glad. Like me and you were self-taught for the most part. Yeah, we took ukulele in middle school, right? You at Kalamo, right? So
Lokelani,
Kalamo, right? Lokelani,
yeah. But then, it was pretty much like recess. Like we got to play,
But we're pretty much self-taught, right? So no one really spoon-fed us information. We kind of just, again, we got thrown out and we had to figure out how to play stuff. And we don't even know if we were playing it properly, but we kind of could play along and it worked. So we kind of we made it work, right? And then maybe we fixed our technique afterwards. But I think there is so much good in us just kind of figuring out on our own what worked, what didn't work. So it's kind of good that I like to let my students figure it out. Like, okay, I'll do this, but it's not the only way to do it. This is what works for me. You try it out and you try to apply it to these songs, and you tell yourself, do you think that's good or does it work here? Rather than me telling you, okay, let's go through this song. You're gonna play it exactly like me. You're gonna put the vibrato there. You're gonna do a pull off there. It's just like, okay, these are the techniques you can do. Now you figure out what sounds good to you, because that's what we did. We just played and it sounded good to us, so we went with it, rather than someone else telling us, oh, Andrew, you're playing it correctly, or Andrew, you're playing it wrong, So we never had that experience back then. So I'm kind of grateful that we kind of just figured it out on our own and learn to trust our ear and develop our ear.
Yeah, and that's something I stress to my students too, is like trust your ear, develop your musical intuition, and instead of like, regurgitating information, kind of take it in and absorb it, and and then because music, like music comes from within. It's not something like it's like sometimes when you're trying to, I would say, juggle information, taking it in when you're reading, sometimes like it makes you play a little more mechanical versus playing from within. So that's why I always stress memorizing songs. I think that's pretty essential.
It's hard too to teach people how to feel something. Okay, when you play a song, you have to feel it like this, and the phrasing has to be like this. It's like you have to figure out how you want to play it, because I don't know how you're feeling. I know how I feel, and that's why I play it that way. So it kind of ties back into, I'll teach you the techniques, I'll give you the tools, but it's up to you to play it how you think sounds best. Because maybe what I think sounds best, you might not like it, and then what you think, when you play it, I might not like it. So that's why music's so subjective.
And I'm just curious, from Byron, what was the biggest things that you've learned and that you've applied to your current style?
Oh boy, that's a tough question.
Because like we said, like I know, like the way you orchestrate your notes is different now. Your campanella is pretty much off the charts, like besides those things, what else? What else? Because I know you arrange a lot of songs now. So what like I know you do those walk downs with the suspended, and you use every chord possible, and I like that. I like that because you know not everyone does that. But was it one of the things you learned from Byron when you were?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things Byron taught me was the importance of music theory and how much, because there's a lot of people who are afraid of it because it's intimidating, it's hard, they don't see the resemblance. And that was actually me in college. Like I learned all of these music theory concepts, but the thing is they don't teach you when you're sitting in theory class or ear training class. They don't tell you, okay, this is the concept, you test out on it. Okay, now we're going to show you how to apply it to your instrument, whether you're a violin player, a cello player, whatever. You know, it's kind of like, that's up to you. You figure it out. So what happened is that I knew all these theory concepts, but I could, you know, when I looked at my instrument, I'm just like, okay, now what? How do I get that to here? How do I make it hands-on and stuff so I can understand it to my instrument? And that's where Byron came in, because he kind of figured that all out, or he had 40, 50, 60 years of playing ukulele, and he was the music professor. So he had all this time to think about how to apply it to guitar, how to apply it to ukulele and his bass. So when I asked him these questions, he taught me like, so you know this theory, you know this, you learned it, you tested out on it. So he didn't spoon feed me, but he was kind of just asking me the right questions so that it's kind of like reverse psychology. You just kind of throw out a question, you answer it with a question, and it's like, oh, you're right, it is like that. And then I would like do it, and then he'll show me, okay, try to do it like this now. So it was more connecting what I knew about music theory and putting it on the instrument and making it applicable, like taking my music theory and making it applicable to the instrument so that I can physically see it and then I can think about it like in that way, rather than thinking about like, okay, I'm going to play these chords and I memorize like, okay, this is E7, this is D7, 9, you know, all that stuff. He taught me to think about it in theoretical terms, like, you know, Roman numerals and stuff like that. So, you know, you're thinking big picture, not so like, okay, I'm going to memorize the order of chords. I'm going to think about why it goes from here to here, why it goes from there to there, and kind of just understanding all the little nuances. So basically just how music theory is just a big, bright light. If you're in a dark room, music theory shines the light. So, oh, that's what you can do. That's where I can go. Okay. That's kind of how I look at it. And then technique wise, I mean, he'd always make fun of himself, like, oh, my technique's awful, you have better technique than me, so I don't know what to tell you about that. That's all on you. Like, you play clean already. I'll just help you with the theory stuff and like thinking about where to go and stuff. So yeah, and then also work ethic too. Like, you know, we're preparing for the recital, he's like, you got to be ready 1 month out. You're not ready the day before. You got to practice and practice, and when you think you got it, you practice more, and then when you got it 3 times over, you practice some more. So it's kind of like never settling. You're always kind of just, he's a perfectionist, and then I've kind of been a perfectionist myself, so he's kind of doubled down on that. Like, you know, you can always sound better, you can always play better, and yeah, just put in the time to practice, don't settle. It's just stressful working with him too, because he always had something to say. Like, it was very rare he was like, okay, that sounded good. There's always something, the smallest detail. He and I told him, be blunt, you know, fix anything you hear. So, because yeah, I know it's good for me. But yeah, working with him was some of the best and most stressful times of my life. Every little thing. I mean, to the point where I'm playing his arrangements and he'll stop me because, oh, you lifted that finger too loud, so it made a noise. It's like, what? You know, just. And then when I lifted it up, it made a little, he calls it a lift off noise. So like, there's a noise when you lift off your finger from the string too fast. It makes a slight noise and he hears it and he'd be like, stop, do it again. So it's just like, I can't even get through I'm playing the right notes, but the technique of lifting off your fingers from the string is wrong. So I had to practice stuff like that. And then I get that, and then he'd be like, okay, you're doing that, you have to be careful of that. Okay, be aware of that. It's like, oh my God. So he made me aware of so many little things on ukulele that I never knew existed. I didn't even know that was a problem, like just lifting off your finger too fast because it makes a noise. If he never told me that, I would never think about stuff like that. Like super so technical stuff. It's crazy. And then he'd be like, well, it's just classical guitar. That's how classical guitar players practice, and they're aware of all those things. So I'm just putting it on ukulele for you. And I remember Ian O'Sullivan would tell me, like, you got to be careful about the lift-off noise. You got to be careful about how you move your left hand, how you're fingering, how you're preparing for the next. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's crazy. It was crazy. So it really, it made me think on another level. Like, I had to look at what I was doing completely like insane, where if I told other people, like, who cares? It's like, apparently I thought so too, but they did. So that's why I practiced with those concepts in mind. And I guess that's kind of what helped me become the player I am today, because I think about all those things. Whereas before they didn't mention it to me, I wouldn't even think it's an issue or it's a thing.
Man,
it's nuts.
And at least with the classical guitar, like it's louder, right? So it's obvious. But the ukulele, it's so subtle, like the string lift.
But if you're, and the thing is, if I've always heard it, it's just like, because he pointed it out, I always heard it. I never heard it before that, or that's what I meant. Like it's there. I guess if you go like that, you can kind of hear it, like when you place yourself, but you don't think about it. So when he's like, there, it's a lift off noise, and then he does it, and I'm like, oh, I'm always doing that. He's like, yeah, that's not good technique. I'm like, wait, I have to completely deconstruct my whole playing then. So yeah, I had to practice with that little thing in mind and that little thing in mind, and then playing correct chords and so that's why I said it was the most stressful thing I ever had to do, because I had to get his standard. Like, he brought it up. Like, I expect you to be this. I'm not letting you go on that stage and perform all those songs if you're not ready, because then it's on me too, because I vouch for you. So, and I want you to look good, and you putting my name on you too. So I was just like, wow.
Oh man.
Ooh. So I'm glad it's over. But I'm not trying to make like, Byron is like scary, like super intimidating. Like that, that was his work ethic is unbelievable. Like, and he expected that of me because he knew I could rise up and meet that. And I told him too, like, you gotta just be hard on me as much as possible, because I know it's all good for me and I can handle it. I know I can. I have a thick skin.
That's so some people couldn't handle that, especially because when you're a musician, right? Art is a way of expressing yourself, and all artists are kind of sensitive in a way.
Exactly.
In a way, yeah. So that's why, like, I really commend you for having that thick skin, because that's insane, man.
And I told him, like, I promise I'm not gonna get offended, like, because he would never be like that. But because I told him, please be like that, because I can take it. I need that guidance. So he just pulled all the plugs on me. And that's why it was stressful, because like I felt like I did it. And then he would always find something like I can work on. That was kind of his motto. Like, there's always something to work on. Like, don't settle. It's like, oh my God, but that's how I go nuts as a musician. Like, where's the fun in playing at that point? Everything's so technical. So then I had to have that battle with myself. Like, okay, how much is too technical and it becomes too robotic, like what you were saying earlier? And then how much of it is so much feel, but then you're kind of losing the technical side of things. So you have to find that middle line.
A blend of both. Oh man, it was tough. Unbelievable tough. So I usually try to be careful how I explain my experiences with him, because then people be like, wow, he sounds so harsh and so mean. Like, no, he's not. He's the nicest guy out there. But it's just, that's how I wanted our lessons to be, super kind of nuts like that. Right. But it must be incredibly like rewarding. Like, that's probably the biggest achievement someone could have in the ukulele world, is just work with a grandmaster.
I was so relieved when I was done.
I bet. And
then when he said, "Oh, I'm proud of you," I think that was the first time he ever said that in like 4 years I've worked with him, because he's never said that in all the things I've done with him. I think that night he shook my hand. He's like, "Hey, I'm really proud of you." I'm like, wow.
Oh, that's a compliment.
Wow. Yeah. So like, wow. So that was cool.
Oh man. And the thing about being a perfectionist is that the only bad thing about that mentality is that you might not get anything done.
It's exhausting too. Yeah, it's mentally taxing, and sometimes that's what makes people quit, because they're just never satisfied, and then they're like, why am I even playing then? And then it's like, that's how people quit.
Yeah. So
I had to find that balance. Like, it's okay to let it go. It's okay.
Yeah, man. When you do that, when you do your upcoming album, you gotta have that perfect middle, or you're never gonna be satisfied.
I'm not looking forward to that either. Gotta go reteach all my recital pieces to myself. But yeah, I mean, when people ask like, oh, how did you develop your technique, or I guess a lot of people tell me like you play really clean. I'm just like, I don't know. I think it's because of all those sessions with Byron. I spent 3, 4, 5 years just under that mentality. Like, I have to be looking out for this and that and practicing with this in mind. So I guess now I don't think about it too much, because I've worked it out. So now when people are like, oh, how do you do that? I'm like, oh, it's this. And then they try to do it and they can't. So I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, because I went through all that. So
I mean, actually I want to touch upon that clean factor right before we say goodbye. But yeah, I was talking with Neil about that yesterday. I had lunch with him, and then we're talking about like just like how your cleanness is different from like his cleanness, and of course like Clay, because everyone's clean, but when you play, it's just different. Like a pin could drop and we could hear it. Like it's just so quiet. I don't know how you do it. That's something
I don't even know what it is.
I've always admired your cleanness because you're clean
Thank you.
your own way.
And I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just like your incredible use of dynamics and your orchestration. I think it's a combination of both of that. Because I'm just like I listen, like, dang, I feel like that's like the only thing in the entire room. Like I feel like I can't even play clean like that. I was like, damn, this is just, that's good, man.
And that's why I always ask people when they're like, "Oh, you're such a clean player." Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not trying to like fill my ego or anything or fill my cup. Just like really, because like I just play. You know, I'll just grab a uke and play, and they're like, "That's so nice." I'm like, I'm just playing. So
you just have this touch, and it's something that I remember you always had, even before you started working with Byron. So I think it's just natural.
I don't know. I think I just play whatever I just play whatever sounds good to me. Like that's what sounds good to me. So it could be my perfectionist because I practice so much and I wanted a certain tone, but and then eventually it developed into something that I have now, but I'm not really aware of it because it's just my playing style. But I don't know. I really don't know. Like I would love to dissect it, but that's why I have to ask people like you and Benny and Brian, and they all have their own versions of why they think I play clean. And so I'm trying to develop that, or I'm trying to ask around so that when I sit here and really just like, okay, what am I doing? Is it my nails? Is it my technique? Is it how I'm fingering chords?
Ringing too. I think that's another thing too. It's like you don't let any strings like ring on it at its own. It's like everything has a perfect, like you kind of have it down to a science. I think you do it subconsciously. But yeah, it's just like I don't know. Like Corey's the technician, right? You know, and then you got Calais, who's like in killer improvise. You know, Neil has you know, his killer jazz thing. But your thing is just the cleanness. That's what we all say that you have.
I think it could just be my classical background, just being aware of like the orchestration stuff that Benny told me, and Byron telling me about like separating, you know, the bottom string from the other strings, or just being aware of like, you know. So I don't know, like so like. I don't know, like separating staccato versus legato notes, or just connecting your notes, or again playing the other notes soft and then bringing out the melody. I mean, there's like 1,000 things going through my head when I play, so trying to deconstruct that. And again, I think it's just because I'm scarred from practicing with Byron so much. He made me so aware of all these little things that probably it really doesn't matter, but I guess that's what you have to like be on the lookout for. And I never would have thought about that if they never like told me about it. Like it's always there, but we're not, because someone doesn't tell us like that's a problem, then we don't think it's a problem, right? So I guess just all those years of just being hyperly aware of lift off noise, how you move your fingers, how much you move your fingers, how you set chords up, what's going on with your right hand technique, is your nails filed a certain way. I don't know, there's just so much to it. I would love to like break it down and teach something, but I'm still kind of curious myself, like why I sound the way I sound.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just very fascinating, and like kind of like contrasting with Corey, you know, like technical monster and these crazy LD Mueller runs and everything. But you can say so much without saying much. Like there's so much emotion just to like I remember just a simple phrase you were doing with that Japanese piece from Byron, and it was just like it was campanella mixed with that kind of that those Asian voicings. I'm just like, dude, that's insane. Like that's it's just technically crazy in a different kind of way.
I think on my own, I can do some stuff, but I think because I play Byron's pieces, it can really come out because it's written for that kind of playing.
Yeah.
So when I play Byron's arrangements, I think that's when my full potential comes out. But if I'm just doing my own thing, I think I can get kind of sloppy and I kind of just do my own thing and stuff, because Byron specifically writes so that technique will kind of come through and shine through. Whereas mine is just like, I play some of Byron's style into my style, but then I kind of just jam and do whatever, fool around, improvise. So sometimes it'll come out of my playing, but I think it really comes out when I play Byron's pieces, which are so hard to play.
Dang.
No, but thank you. You know, everyone that's complimented me and told me that, I'm just like, thank you. I mean, I wish I can kind of understand what you're saying, but I need to go to the drawing board and really figure it out and try to write it down so I can teach it or just I don't know. I really don't know.
I think that might be your thing, you know, like everyone kind of has something about them that stands out, and it's just your cleanness is just kind of like, I don't know. It's just what we all think.
It's funny because I wanted like classical to be what stood me out, but I guess that it ended up becoming that like, oh yeah, Mika plays classical. No one else plays like that. So, but
I mean, I also say like that's what you do too, is that you play these classical pieces like incredibly well, and I think you should definitely do more of that when you do, like if you perform, you know, that could be like part of your style, and then with a mix of like the jazz stuff, since you know that inside and out. So if you have like a blend of classical and jazz, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Come on, we're all waiting for this album, man.
I know. I like to tell people I have a classical touch or classical interpretation versus like I play classical music, because classical music is so ridiculously hard. It's too stressful to practice for those, but I like to have the phrasing from like classical phrasing, like how it was like hundreds of years ago when I had to study all that music and music history and all that. We listened to how Mozart phrased things or how Bach phrased his stuff. So I tried to have that kind of interpretation when I play even pop arrangements, you know, like Bee Gees and stuff. I tried to take that and apply it to there. So
yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, there you got your twist on it. I like it.
Yeah, and I played my Bee Gees one too, for the ukulele festival, along with two of Byron's pieces.
Nice, yeah, man. Yeah, but I just wanted to thank you for chatting today. This is a great podcast, you know, just to catch up, and I think people are just so interested in, you know, like with learning, and just your story with Dr. Byron Yasui, just very fascinating. So yeah, if it gets hard, to keep studying, everybody, because it won't be as bad as that recital in terms of pressure.
I mean, yeah, that was certainly a point of my life where I had to like take it really seriously, and then now it's all fun and games. I can just do whatever I want at my pace, play the songs I want. Not it's for a degree, it's for a once in a lifetime thing. So that was just ridiculous how nuts that was. But now I can finally just play for sound samples, play for my enjoyment, make an arrangement that I want. So things are a lot better now.
Nice, man. But yeah, you guys can check them out. Mika Kane Music.
MikaKane.com.
MikaKane.com.
And then Mika Kane Music for Instagram.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. But yeah, man, it was good chatting. But yeah, I gotta come visit you, or I'll catch you here on Maui.
Visit you, yeah, or whenever you're in Oahu.
Sounds good, man. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Shoots.